Attention gamers. For the 97% of players that endure this piss-pit toxic torture simulator of a game below the rank of Diamond, Jungler is the most brain-dead boosted handicap-enabled give me crutches and play the game for me role in the entire game. I think Riot realized that this role gets flamed more than a charbroiled double whopper, so they compensated for the psychological suffering of the role by making it so stupidly easy. If you scroll over one of the egg items, the game will give you a 2013 League of Legends amount of words describing what it does, but Jesus Batman, hold the phone if you research the amount of freebies packed into this cut casserole of an item. All of these go straight to making sure the jungler is the trust fund babies on the Rift, playing the game on easy mode with more privilege and hidden passives than Jeffrey Epstein himself. But amongst all the secret steroids that you get injected straight up your ass cheeks when you play this role, there are two that should change the way you play in low elo at least. There's literally an XP bounty catch-up system built into the role from level 1, where if you get more than a level behind your opponent or behind the average level in the game, you literally get bonus XP from all camps and minions on the map. This can be exploited early by doing more ganking and less spanking of your own meat alone in the forest, while the Master Yi players out there are doing 6 full clears before they show on the map for the first time. The idea is you are spamming ganks early, getting kills and your team ahead while pissing off and tilting the enemy team, and while your opponent is AFK farming just enough to get 1 level ahead of you so you can go get fat bonus XP and catch up immediately. It's working harder, not smarter, and today I will show you how me, a dumbass in the jungle who doesn't even have the right trinket 30 minutes into the game, can have ridiculous hamburger helper stats in the assist department just by doing one thing more than the enemy: ganking. No sponsor today, so please domestically abuse my subscribe button till it turns blue and let's get into it. Alright, so game 1 I was on the muscular mucus and plan A was to gank bot at level 2, but they were pushing harder than someone who has developed a tolerance to Miralax, so I hit a cheeky level 3 and instead of full clearing top like most junglers would, I plugged Dead Riven Avenue into my GPS and head straight there. You see, she sure as shit wasn't expecting me to be snot rocketing into her city so early, and when I got there I grabbed her and a minion and said now kiss before getting first blood. I was then a level behind their jungler, but my top side gave me bonus XP, so I got little bonus bounties on all my top side camps before returning top. An experienced player here would say that I then wasted more time than someone actually reading the rules on a Discord server before joining, but I will have you know my efforts did result in her dying again and essentially being out of the game before it even started. My bot was continuing to push harder than a kid stuck in a revolving door, but instead of Gromp I felt like a little slingshot into kill Steelsville was a better use of my time. At this point it's worth noting that my presence on the map did attract pretty much everyone and their fat Aunt Betty to pay me a visit, but unfortunately I am highly trained in the art of self-mitosis, which allowed me to survive the encounter while Bollywood Robin Hood cleaned up my shit for me. My top side has been marinating for a bit, but I was just letting it accumulate bonus XP while I was seeing if their ADC would consider a name change to Miss Unfortunate. Speaking of unlucky, I then made the mistake of thinking that if I put my gooey ass on the line my bot lane will do literally anything except for just stare at my tower diving ass, but it just goes to show you can never underestimate your teammates in League of Legends, especially if you don't have a basic understanding of how cooldowns work in this game. Anyways, my participation across the map has everyone diffing their lane counterparts, which means they are willing to then scratch my back in the form of getting global objectives. In fact, in this video I went 8-0 when it came to dragons, as you will see. That said, because I chose to gank instead of AFK farm, their jungler now had 2 levels on me, which was actually ideal because my laners were now all self-sufficient and my next full clear would give me crazy amounts of catch-up bonus XP until I was even in level again. It also meant that instead of having to be a selfish asshole about scuttle crabs, I could postpone my own farm to toss a sticky hand on some foxy mama before peeling for my mid whilst not rocketing the flash straight off of that Riven in the process. I then spend gross amounts of time hovering bot, knowing 2 things. First, this dirty Diana is too shitty to counter jungle me, and 2, it's only a matter of time before Anchor Andy gets greedier than an NFT designer, so I come in to infect MF with stupidity apparently, and then Diana comes in showing the world that her level advantage does her absolutely no good at this point in the game. Thanks to the new W-sized snowball I got rolling top early, that lane has been ass blasted into oblivion to the point where we are hitting a little team building a ram in this bitch, and I love that because I can do a little fling in to put this fox in the fountain combo, which may or may not have left me in a predicament that you may think there's no way he survived this. And that's when I say I totally did. This was absolutely not fake news from CNN or Fox or whatever political side would make that joke land for you. #Rav's a fence sitter. But the important thing to note is that I made their jungler French kiss a submarine in her last moments, and then I watched my own Morgana blow her ult on the surest kill I've ever seen in my life right after. Anyways, it's almost like treating this game like a team game. As a jungler early gives your team the nourishment to not suck total asshole themselves for the rest of the game, as my presence in these fights probably wasn't even needed anymore. But I will never pass up the opportunity to teabag my gooey sack onto an ADC in an acrobatic way before joining the boys in slapping around a stupid support right after. Their Diana was off thinking that she just needed to turbo farm their jungle even more in order to carry her team, that in her mind got diffed individually in every lane while I was hitting my bounce and bit slap combo carefree with the gents who do more damage than the fence. That's a drug joke, fentanyl, as the enemies were all hitting the fold. At this point I rallied the troops and said, let's do some vandalism down south, tear down a statue that represents a white man because his great-great-great-great-great-grandpa owned a slave 400 years ago, so fuck that guy. But before we could get on with our cancel culture we had to bounce on these shitters once more until it was just Ari. I took one look at Fiora and was like, Ari gonna run? And she was like, more like, are we gonna be bitches and leave when this racist statue is still up? That was supposed to be a play on words because Ari and are we sound similar. I'm not sure why I'm explaining these jokes. The point is my Fiora was fed, and when I asked the enemy to give me something that I could edit in a way that makes me too look like a genius for the video, they obliged, stating that they don't even have to lie because I had their top laner flaming their jungler from the start, which was objective numero uno with this strategy. Objective numero dos was to make their support not even want to play the game anymore, and I think the evidence points to that being a success as well. That said, in case you aren't convinced of the gap that was present, please direct your attention to the final nail in the 9x report. This Diana in all chat coffin with this play.
I'm stretching, I'm flexing, I'm bouncing through the fray. Green sludge in the jungle, they can't hold me no way. Fist hit the ground, seismic waves, they tremble. Enemies crumble, they a puzzle, I disassemble. Got my squad in the clash, we a blender, a storm. Alt hit the map, I'm reforming my form. Split apart, pull together, they don't know what to do. I'm the ooze with the moves, and I'm coming for you. I'm elastic, I'm drastic, I'm back in the fray. Punching through the chaos, then I'm gone, no delay. Dragon in my sights, I'll be stealing the play. I'm Zack in the jungle, all the odds go my way. Ran back to base, low health, gotta retreat. But I'm eyeing that Drake, hear the rhythm of the beat. Enemies think I'm done, think I'm out for the count. But I'm a blob in the shadows and I'm ready to pounce.
And thus I clearly have zero clue how to play jungler or how to play Zack. This, to be honest, was my first game as both in my main rank, and I diffed the shit out of it just by ganking and then letting one of the 45 passives on my braindead jungle item give me comeback XP to stay with their Diana the entire time. Game 2 Nunu and motherfucking Willump would be perfect for this strategy, as I cleared bot side then ignored my entire top like it was a pay pig whose degenerate dono just cashed because I had business up top. But it turns out the weekend didn't want to partake in getting an advantage over his lane opponent, so the first gank came up short. This threw me off my game as no ganks were available on the map, and to throw salt in the wound, it turns out their jungler was a grade A dickhead. Not to fear, the honey-covered disco ball of death would be here as I came in hotter than a member of Cat's Eye, but Renata tossed her tonsil at me to interrupt my flow. I still put her in the frost flakes zone to root her before the boys would scoot her, and then I guess I have some kind of buffs in my kit because I managed to get an assist for the second kill that I told local authorities I had nothing to do with. Then, rather than turbo clearing like someone who should play a single-player PvE game, I opted into confirming that Kale rhymes with fail in this one, as even the golden bitch bubble couldn't save her from this yeti. We then go dragon because both bot and mid were having a field day due to my presence before I hit a hastily charged bitch ball right into that floating angelic douchebag who died and then told me that she will get her revenge on me later, which may or may not have turned out to be the exact case. But we live in the moment, right? The moment being me thinking I was going to stroll into bot lane and collect a double kill like an OF model collects unemployment checks while hiding her big titty LLC from the government, but it turns out tax fraud is punishable by death without the satisfaction of getting a double kill in the process. That said, I got a second free dragon, but there were big problems brewing. You remember Kwame, whose actions earlier told me he's a total shitbag with less awareness of his surroundings than a 2012 Borat at a pride parade? Well, while I was visiting the south side of the map on repeat, he was cosplaying an all-you-can-eat buffet to the point where Garen was more fed than someone who just took down an eating contest, and let's just say the results were not pretty. Everything he did in this game was basically a giant meme, but it was strong evidence to show that while it's hard in 2025 for a single player to win a game for his team, it's not hard for a single player to still lose one for his team, and Kwame would be that one. We did have some wins together, and as long as we sent 4 people at once, we would be able to take down he who spins as the only requirement to gather his wins, and everyone else on his team was still deep in the shitter from the early game. Their jungler had a level advantage on me, which I believe means his smite is better than mine. I may need to fact check myself on that. I told you I don't know shit about this role, but I wasn't going to take the chance, so I just hit him with an insane queef quake, and then I made like a fart and blew this shithole. I'd like to make the case for this still being a jungle diff, as I was definitely more active around the map than my counterpart, and we were securing all sorts of objectives that I never bothered reading what they do, aka if someone wants to leave a comment of a very concise description of the buff this guy gives without me having to read a novel, I would appreciate that. But that said, my willingness to always lend a helping hand was coming up clutch in more ways than one, as I was like, you Nara, more like you a dead bitch, omega lol. At one point I was like, Renata, you glad I didn't say banana, as I was killing her, but she didn't seem amused, and then at another point I hit the wildest Tokyo drive fast and furious of my life, which ended up hitting a target that I didn't even intend on hitting, all while their jungler was striking out more than a professional bowler and things were going perfect. Well, that is until I tried to be the team player and base to stop their Giga Chad Garen, but I seem to have forgotten that any strategy you can take in this game pales in comparison to the raw, unadulterated strength of a Garen player who had been properly fed throughout the game. And if you are wondering if my team could handle getting the objective without me, the answer to that question lies somewhere in the fact that they got the dragon to literally 300 health and then decided to absolutely ignore it, so all of a sudden my investment in my solo queue teammates was looking to be a bad decision. I continued trying to be the better jungler and locking down their targets, and I just knew that all I needed was one crazy ult to get us back on the right track. Side note, shout out to a fully charged AP Nunu ult doing like 6 total damage to a bruiser Garen. That's dope. Subscribe to cure my sadness. Rav out.